Which social media metrics matter for growing your business? I'm going to take you through my real social media metrics from June 2024 to walk you through how I collect them, how I analyze them, and what I do with that information. Let's dive in. All right, to save us time here, I have put together a spreadsheet in advance with all of my social media metrics by platform. So with TikTok, I go to the creator analytics section in the app, and then that lets me choose a more specific time frame. With LinkedIn, I go over to my post impressions, post engagement. There's much more limited metrics available on LinkedIn, but that's where I find those. On Instagram, when you're on your profile, you go to your professional dashboard, and then you can check your analytics. With YouTube, you go to YouTube Studio, either on your app or desktop, and you can check your analytics. Threads has very bare bones analytics. So to put together what I have for you here today, I clicked on each post I published in June 2024 and counted up the views and engagements. Thankfully, I didn't post very much in June, so there wasn't much to do there. And then Pinterest has an analytics section as well, and that's where you can gather that. So what are the metrics we're going to be looking at today? Well, first is reach, which is really the number of people you reached. Now, different platforms may call this different things like unique reach, unique viewers, accounts reached, but it's just the number of people, for lack of a better, simpler explanation, that your content got to. Then views or impressions. So this is how often your content itself was seen. So your views or impressions will be higher than your reach because, well, everyone had to view something at least once, and often people will see your content 2 or 3 or 10 times over the course of the month. So on TikTok, for example, this is video views, whereas on LinkedIn, this is post impressions, etc. And then somewhere like YouTube, I didn't use impressions because that's how often your content showed up in search results, for example. So for me, that would be way higher than the number of people who chose to view it. Now, interactions is what we'll call engagement. So for most of these platforms, that's likes, comments, shares. Instagram bundles in a few more there, so you'll see that the Instagram interaction rate will be a bit higher when we get to that. Profile views, most platforms tell you this. It's just something I like to track to see how my content is getting people to actually come check me out, because of course that's usually a step that happens before they'll visit my website. And then follower count. This was measured on July 1st, so by the end of June, how many followers did I have on each platform? I also included some interesting information that we can't really analyze from a data perspective, but just qualitatively, where did my traffic come from? And then what the top piece of content was on each platform for the month of June. Okay, let's dive in. First is TikTok. So I will unhide this information that I've sourced for you here. And there we go. So TikTok, month of June, I have 63,000 TikTok followers. That's been flat for more than a year now. I've not had a viral video in some time. Over the course of my 3+ year TikTok career, I've had 4 viral videos, and each one kind of jumps the follower count. I reached 26,000 people on TikTok in June. My videos got 39,000 impressions, about 1,000 interactions, and about 600 people came to check out my profile. Now, what's really interesting about TikTok is that nowadays I'm in like TikTok view jail. Like, even though I have 63,000 followers, most of the videos I post now get kind of 300 to 400 views. A couple will get 1,000 to 2,000, and that's it. So if you just looked at my profile, it would look like I'm doing really badly on TikTok. However, 66% of my views on TikTok come from search. That's TikTok search. So more than 2/3 of my views are not relying on the FYP, new content being pushed out. Instead, it's my library of more than, 1,100 or 1,200 TikTok videos I've posted at this point over the last 3 years that are continuing to drive my business. And so that explains why my top video in June 2024 by views was actually a video I posted all the way back in February 2023. It was my 4th and most recent viral video, How to Grow Your Business the Lazy Way. And in this video, I'm not on camera at all. It's static. It's me drawing on a whiteboard, explaining my 4-step system for how I repurpose content, and it's still a huge hit. It has more than 100,000 views. I think it's getting up near 200,000 views now. So those are my TikTok metrics. And next we'll go to LinkedIn. I've ordered these platforms where I have the most to least followers. So coming to LinkedIn, I have 8,000 followers on LinkedIn. I just cracked through 8,000 at the end of June. I reached 22,000 people on LinkedIn in June. My content got about 73,000 impressions. 1,700 or so interactions, 673 people checked out my LinkedIn profile. And LinkedIn doesn't really tell you much about the sources, but what I will say is my top content on LinkedIn was something I posted in June, 3 things you didn't know about negative keywords. It's part of a series I've been doing where I'm reading every single page of the Google Ads Help Center so you don't have to, and bring you interesting things. So these were 3 kind of like surprising facts that even if you're a Google Ads practitioner, who's most of my audience on LinkedIn, you wouldn't necessarily know that. And that's what I find on LinkedIn, that my top content each month tends to be something I posted that month. LinkedIn content does not have the long shelf life that TikTok, or as we'll see, YouTube or Pinterest content does. All right, next is Instagram. Let's unhide that for you. So I have about 3,200 followers on Instagram. That has been a slow and steady climb over the 3 years or so I've been on Instagram. So I reached about 6,000 people on Instagram. My content got about 11,000 views. Most of that is Reels, but I do a combination of Reels, which are just the exact same things I'm posting on YouTube Shorts, get posted to TikTok, Instagram, and Pinterest every weekday. And then 2 to 3 times a week, I also have carousel posts, and occasionally I do stories. But most of this is coming from Reels and then some posts as well. 457 interactions. So note that on Instagram, when you try to gather your interactions, it includes likes, comments, shares, but then also a few other things like saves and stuff. So it's going to be a bit higher proportionally than other platforms. 321 profile views. This actually went up a lot in June. And my followers. So interesting thing here, 90% of my reach on Instagram was to non-followers. So even though I have a following count of 3,200, reach went much higher than that. And what that actually tells me, based on 90% of my reach coming from non-followers, is that a ton of my followers aren't even seeing my content. Instagram is so weird. My top content on Instagram was something I did post in June 2024. And this one surprised me. I have a podcast called Inside Google Ads. It comes out every Thursday. And so I post kind of usually about 3 clips from each episode across all my vertical video platforms. And so my most viewed content was this Google Ads Auction Insights Explained. It's a clip from the podcast, and it had my most views. It was very quickly followed by 2 videos that were created using my AI avatar. I know that's super controversial, but I write out the script, press a button, and this AI version of me makes a video, and I post those. And for whatever reason on Instagram, those tend to do pretty well as well. All right, now let's look at YouTube. How do we do on YouTube in June? I have about 2,000 YouTube subscribers, and my reach was about 7,700 people on YouTube, nearly 10,000 impressions on you. Actually, so for YouTube, this is views, people who actually viewed my videos. Impressions was like 100,000, but I'm not counting that. It's people who viewed my videos, almost 10,000 people. 247 interactions with my videos. YouTube doesn't tell you how many people view your profile or view your channel, or if they do, let me know how. I could not figure it out. And subscribers. So here, really similar dynamic to what we saw on TikTok. 45% of my views came from YouTube search, so people searching on YouTube for stuff. 25% from the Shorts feed, so that's like the FYP on TikTok. And the third source was external, and Google search counts as external. So that is also Google search as well as YouTube search, driving people to my library of videos, which like TikTok, there's like 1,200 YouTube videos there. And my top content was something from August 2023. It's a video I posted when there was a new Google Ads AI certification as part of Google Skillshop AI-powered ads. And interestingly, that itself was a repost. It wasn't the first time I posted that video in August 2023. I first posted it earlier that year, but for whatever reason, that reposted version, thanks to search, is my most viewed YouTube content. Threads, I have very minimal information. I kind of ebb and flow with my threads, and I think I posted maybe 8 or 9 times total in the month of June. So by my calculations, for content I posted in June, because there's no way to really see before that, I got about 2,000 views of my posts, 73 interactions, and I have 1,600 Threads followers. In months where I've been really active on Threads, my Threads reach has surpassed my YouTube reach, my Instagram reach, even reached like LinkedIn level reach, but not this month. And then Pinterest. I don't spend any time on Pinterest at all. It is all just straight up repurposed short form videos. But somehow I have 135 followers over there. I reached 2,700 people, about 5,000 views of my content, and 127 interactions. And my top content was, I don't know exactly when it was posted. I couldn't see a date on Pinterest, but I know it's an older video of mine, how to run Google ads on a specific keyword. I first posted it maybe 2 years ago, and I've reposted a few times since then. So that was my top content. So you can see really an educational theme here with the search kind of stuff. On Pinterest and on YouTube, it is a Google Ads educational video that did best. On TikTok, it's always when I step outside my Google Ads niche and share more about solopreneurship or organic growth. Those tend to be my biggest videos. LinkedIn makes sense to my audience, really interesting kind of nitty gritty stuff about Google Ads. And the Instagram one surprised me. I don't know why that one popped off, but hey, good on it. So now what I did is I just summed up all these rows to kind of get a sense of my total reach. So in the month of June 2024, I reached 65,000 people through social media. My content got about 140,000 views, 3,700 engagements. Though this is not a totally comprehensive number because it only includes my biggest 3 platforms, about 1,500, 1,600 people checked out my profile. And across these platforms, I have 78,000 followers. So putting these numbers in context, I was like, hey, 65,000 reach. What does that mean? So the people I reached with my content in June 2024 could fill Gillette Stadium. That's where the New England Patriots play. That's pretty cool. The people who my content reached in June could also fill Magic Kingdom on an average day. Average daily attendance at Magic Kingdom is 45,000. So actually 50% more than that, right? Which blows my mind. That's crazy. And it's all free, right? I don't actively spend money to do this stuff, but it does take time. And I'm 3 years into doing this. There's a well-oiled machine here. I also have a wonderful assistant who helps me with this. So I don't want to be misleading here. It's not like, oh yeah, just nothing involved. But that being said, after the initial upfront work of setting this all up, most of this is like repurposed content, pre-scheduled stuff. And I could fill a football stadium with the people who saw my content. And that in turn drives my business. So I added 2 columns here to look at the Google Analytics for my 2 websites. Jill.ca is where I have like my coaching and audits and my services. And then learn.jill.ca is my course platform for my 3 online courses. So let's just unhide those and show how some of that translated over here. So reach, this is the number of users on my website. So 686 users here and 1,000 on learn.jill.ca. You can see how it kind of jives with the profile views. Of course, social is not the only source of traffic. I get a ton of direct traffic, which I think is partly driven by social. I get a lot of organic Google traffic, stuff from my newsletters, but that is kind of number of users to these websites. Below that is number of sessions. So you can see kind of multiple sessions per user. And then interactions, I did that as engaged sessions, which is something that Google Analytics will tell you. So for my kind of consulting services website, LinkedIn is my top social platform, directing traffic to me, followed by TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, even though I haven't been active on Twitter in a year, Instagram and Threads. On my course platform, LinkedIn is also the top social referrer, followed by YouTube, TikTok, and then Instagram. And my top content on Jill.ca is this blog post that was actually a Twitter thread that I turned into a blog post back in 2022 about the different Google Ads sales teams. Drives a ton of traffic for my business. I've gotten 1 paid call that I know of out of it. So not a huge business driver, but a nice visibility driver. And then on the course platform, not surprisingly, inside Google Ads is my signature membership program. So that's my top course landing page. Okay, so now we have all these numbers. What do we do with it? Well, we're going to do a few very simple calculations to understand what these numbers mean, to put them in context, because this is all about reach, but what about efficiency? How are we doing? So let's unhide my first row here. Right, calculated metrics. There are 3 things I calculated to help kind of put this all in context. First is views per reach. So taking this row divided by this row. And what does that tell us? Well, that tells us on average, how much does each person we reached view our content over the course of the month? So we can see on a platform like LinkedIn, my views per reach is higher. On average, the people I'm reaching are seeing my content 3 times over the course of the month. Whereas on YouTube, it's much lower. They're seeing it once. And that makes sense. On YouTube, we know a lot of people are viewing my content because they search for something and my video is the answer and that's it. Whereas on LinkedIn, people are seeing me again and again and engaging with my content and having a much deeper relationship there, which again makes sense why then LinkedIn would be the top referrer onto my websites. Next, what did I calculate next here? Views per follower. This one I find so interesting. So rather than views per reach, we're looking at views divided by follower count. And you can see a really wide range here. What does that tell us? Well, TikTok is the lowest by far, which doesn't surprise me, 0.6. What does that mean? That means that I have 63,000 followers and 39,000 views. My views are way less than my followers. And that makes sense. 63,000 followers sounds great, but I'm going to bet at least half of those people aren't even active TikTok users anymore. And that's fine. So it's nice to have a big following number, but it's not the thing that actually is going to determine how well your content does. Because look, on LinkedIn, I get way more impressions on my posts than views on TikTok, even though I have a much smaller following. So these things are all related. And so that's why on LinkedIn, my views per follower is 9. So I have 8,000 followers. And on average, assuming that my followers are the ones seeing my content based on the number 9, I think they are, they're seeing it a lot over the course of a month. Instagram, YouTube, that's more in kind of middling average, I'd say 3 or 4. Threads, again, I didn't really do much on Threads. Pinterest, 36.8. This one is why I get why people love Pinterest so much. I only have 135 followers there, and yet I was able to get 5,000 views on my content. So when we talk about organic reach and the power of organic reach, when I started on TikTok, TikTok was an amazing place to get organic reach. It didn't matter how many followers you had. You could just, boom, put up good content, you get a ton of reach. And while you still can, it's a lot harder now than it was when I started in 2021. Absolutely. LinkedIn, great place to get organic reach. And Pinterest, great place to get organic reach. Threads normally is too, but again, I just didn't post a lot there this month. Whereas Instagram, YouTube, you can absolutely get organic reach, but those are more mature platforms. So I'm not going to see the same dynamics there. All right. And then the last thing I want to share with you is something I'm sure you're familiar with, and that is interaction rate or engagement rate. So just looking at interactions divided by reach, I think, or views. No, interaction divided by views. So these are the people who viewed my content or saw my content. What proportion of them choose to engage by liking, commenting, or sharing? And I'm pretty consistent here, kind of 2.5% to 3%. Instagram's a bit higher, but again, interactions includes a few other things beyond just likes, comments, shares. So I'm not going to read too far into that. So I have about a 3% engagement rate, which I think is pretty good. So what do I take away from all this? What am I going to do based on the information? Because we could spend all day analyzing these numbers, but we don't have time for that. We want to make it helpful for us. So first things first, I've been spending a lot more time on LinkedIn. And I'm going to continue to do that. I think that's really valuable for my business. I can see it play through in the high views per reach and views per follower I can get there. So I'm like getting more for my effort there. I can see it in the fact that LinkedIn is the top platform now referring to both of my websites. So I'm going to continue to focus hard on LinkedIn there. Pinterest is something I don't spend any time on at all. And objectively, like, this is pretty good awareness. It's not translating that much into clicks yet. There were a couple of outbound clicks. So one thing I want to look into is how I can potentially take some of this really low-hanging fruit interest in getting on Pinterest and maybe drive more clicks. I'm going to check the settings on the repurposing tool I'm using and see if maybe I need to drive people to like a different call to action or something to try to bring them onto my website. And then looking at these numbers as well, it's really easy to get discouraged when you're posting content and getting 200 to 300 views. But I'm not concerned about that. For TikTok and for YouTube, it's my library of content that really helps. So something I'm making sure that I'm doing now and that I will continue to do based on this data is ensuring that for the new content I am posting, that I have SEO in mind, that I have keywords in there, nice, long, meaty captions, descriptions. I'm already doing that, and I'm going to continue to do that since I know even if they're only getting 200, 300 views now, that over time they could get much more and drive much more value for my business as people start to search for the things that are in my videos. So nothing here that blows me away. Nothing here totally surprised me.